Please welcome American Airlines CEO Robert Isom in conversation with Skift Airlines editor Gordon Smith.
Robert, welcome to the Skift Aviation Forum.
It's great to be here. My commute was about 4 minutes today. So.
A week is a long time in the airline industry. It's a long time in politics. It's incredible to think it's just 7 days since we had the election, never mind the result. But we've got a result, and it's a convincing one. As a leader of industry, what's your message to the incoming administration? What should the priorities be?
Well, first off, I'd just like to say that certainty helps, right? Taking uncertainty out of the equation is going to be beneficial just all around. And so it's great to have the election behind us. And I really look forward to working with the new administration, as we've done really well with the Biden administration as well. In our business, we care for people on life's journey. That's our theme at American Airlines. And in the industry, we do great things. We cross borders and we bring people together. We support commerce. And I know that no matter who's in office, that's important. In regard to President Trump, I think we have good indication from the last administration of the real enthusiasm for aviation. Don't forget, under President Trump's watch, we started the support for the airline industry in the U.S. During the darkest days, the earliest days of COVID. And without that support, the airline industry in the U.S., and certainly American Airlines, would look very different. So we're very thankful for that attention to a really critical part of infrastructure. And as we go forward, I think that's the message. We have to invest in this industry. It's critically important within the U.S. and certainly global. And so from that perspective, whether it's air traffic control systems and where we're headed with sustainability, all that is super important. And for us as well, we really do need to do what's right to enable people to come together. And on that front, we got some work to do to enable people to get to the United States with allowing a lot more visas.
Some topics there that we will approach later in our conversation for sure. It's been a busy November, an eventful November already. It's about to get even busier for you guys. I think you described the Thanksgiving period as being like the Super Bowl and the World Series all put together for American Airlines. 2023 Thanksgiving period was, I think I'm right in saying, your busiest ever. Mm-hmm. How's the Robert Isom dashboard looking for this year? What are the trends? What are you looking at coming into the holiday period?
So Gordon, I'll tell you this though, the Super Bowl has a way of spreading out into a lot of different big games in this business. It seems like when we get into the summer period, it's almost Thanksgiving, one day after the next. So we're prepared for what's coming. We've had the peak of the summer, and we did really, really well. American was the most reliable of the big network carriers, and as I take a look forward to what's coming, I anticipate we're going to be the same as we get into Thanksgiving and the year-end holidays. Business is really, demand is very, very strong, and so I see tremendous demand, probably record loads. Certainly for Thanksgiving and the year-end holidays, but American's ready. So whether it's de-icing or making sure that we're ready for the passengers that check in, all around I feel really good.
Looking at 2023 and looking at 2024 in terms of the holiday period, are there any quirks, anything that might be different this year in terms of demand, or any areas of your business that are going to be materially different in terms of routes, destinations, frequencies?
Well, we finished up our earnings season just a few weeks ago. And one of the things we talked about was tremendous demand in October, and then expected, just kind of spotty travel over the election period. But what I've seen right now is that, nothing has surprised us in terms of expectations. Demand has performed as we had hoped, and it's been even stronger. And as we take a look at the close of the year, I feel really good about where we're headed. And versus 2023, I just say that there's more strength in terms of business demand. Leisure travel is still very, very much of something that people want to participate in. And on that front, people want to take advantage of premium products. So all of that I think bodes well.
2023 wasn't just your busiest Thanksgiving to date. It was also pretty smooth. Only 55 cancellations with 59,000 flights operated over the period. You know, Robert, better than most that you're only as strong as your supply chain partners and your operational partners. How do you bake in the resilience into the system?
Well, with last Thanksgiving, tremendous performance, and really with all the the weather and other things that we have to deal with, it's remarkable how well we do as an industry, but especially American Airlines. I can tell you, I've been in the business now about 30 years. It's never been harder to operate an airline because of so many variables that we now have to build in buffers within our system. And so whether it's air traffic control, that's very different. It now takes, we were talking earlier, that to fly from Chicago to New York, it's 30 minutes longer than it was 20 years ago. We have to build that in. The supply chain, and I know we'll talk about the airframers or the engine manufacturers, but the whole supply chain really hasn't come back to where it was in 2019. And all of that creates difficulty, uncertainty for the operators. And at least for American, I'm so proud of our team in terms of being able to figure out ways to get in front of it and make sure that we have the flexibility to really tackle anything that comes our way.
As Sarah said at the start of our presentation, get on the Skift app. If you've got any questions for Robert, we'll try and take as many as we can towards the end of the session. You discuss variables, you discuss uncertainty. One area that's relatively smooth at the moment for American Airlines is labor. So last month, your tech operations team ratified a new contract. 90% of those balloted were in favor. Your flight attendants have got a new 5-year deal signed in September. Your pilots seem to be reasonably happy. What's the secret sauce? Because I'm sure there's got a lot of industry counterparts that would not wouldn't say no to the sort of labor setup that you've got currently.
Well, I feel great about where American stands right now. I think having contracts done and people all pulling in the same direction gives just a lot of planning certainty and takes away anxiety, from team members. So you're right. Over the last, I think it's 14, 15 months, American has signed deals with our pilots, with our agents, with our flight attendants, and now, with our mechanics. And it's probably more people put with new contracts negotiated at one time than any point in aviation history. I think, again, in the last 14 months, it's almost 90,000 people at American Airlines that have new contracts that really give them, a path to the future. And those contracts are fantastic. It really, from a team member perspective, I think we've done everything that we, have tried to do in terms of providing not just, compensation and benefits, but also, quality of life improvements. But with that as well, I view that that's going to be beneficial for American as well. I already know right now, when we talk about holidays, I already know that some of the provisions that we were able to negotiate with our pilots union, the APA, they're going to benefit our ability to make sure that we get our customers to where they want to go on time without the concerns of disruption. Same thing with our flight attendants. I know that is going to benefit. So all around, it's just a win-win. Now, there's a lot of expense that goes with those contracts.
Sure. I was going to ask you.
And on that front, we're going to take advantage of the efficiencies that are brought forward. But let's face it, we have to really do our part to make sure that American is run in a way that's sustainable long into the future. And that does mean we have to perform better from a revenue perspective.
It's a cost worth paying almost to have that certainty baked in. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's just, again, having certainty, and that's something that I feel that American is unique at this moment, is very, very helpful. And it's we have a few years now, and there's a couple of places too, Gordon, that I'd say that I'm just super pleased with, because although there's a tremendous expense, as we talked about in supply chain, let's face it, there's just a lot of aspects of supply chain that are still broken.
We're coming on to it.
And one of them is, quite frankly, it's harder now to find maintenance resources than it's ever been. And at American Airlines, we operate the world's largest commercial maintenance base in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We have more mechanics at American Airlines than anyone else. And you know what? That's a benefit for us, because from a repair and overhaul perspective, that business is just going to get harder and harder. And I love the fact that we have the stability that our partnership with our mechanics provides.
That's a set of relationships that's going pretty well. Let's touch on one that's maybe been a little more turbulent, to use an overused aviation metaphor, the distribution strategy. So as recently as this time last year at the Aviation Forum, you were still championing the direct distribution strategy, much more focus on direct sales. I'm sure it's a story that much of our audience followed. That didn't go down well, and you've had a U-turn of sorts. Give us a progress check on how American is working to repair those damaged relationships with the trade.
Well, Gordon, let's start with this. It's upside for American at this point, I'll tell you that. And from that perspective, it's just a reminder that no matter how well thought out and well designed, an initiative might be, execution is critically important. And on that front, I think that we've taken to heart. I've gone out on listening tours and talked to countless CEOs. We've reestablished customer forums within American. I've had the chance, just recently to sit down with almost 50 of our top, corporate buyers. And on that front, we've got to do a better job listening. And for the most part, what I get back is, hey, the world wants American to be really competitive. The world needs, choices. And for that reason, there's been an incredible acceptance of coming back, reestablishing sales, service, amenities, and, quite frankly, appropriate levels of discounts as well. Now, that said, the feedback I've also received is, please, we do need to get to a point where there's different technology, so that we can market and sell and service in a way that is, much more, in line with how customers really want to work than in the past. So from our perspective, we're in the early stages. I think that we're going to restore where we had been and hopefully even better as we move through 2025. And everything that I've seen so far since we reversed course back earlier this year it says that we're on that path. I feel really good about it.
You mentioned the importance of listening there, Robert. How do you think you got to the stage where you were able to, frankly, annoy such an important chunk of your business? Was there no sort of whisperings internally that maybe this isn't the right course, we need to change how we're doing things, how we're approaching this very, very big project? Is it too raw still to sort of reflect on what went wrong, or is this very much a case that we know what went wrong and we can seek to identify that? Oh yeah, no, look, I'm not going to be casual or pass it off as just something that is inconsequential. It's a big deal. Yeah. And for us, as soon as we identified that, hey, look, it wasn't moving the direction we wanted, we weren't getting the feedback, we made some really sharp moves, and we're going to try to make sure that we take the best of what we had been doing and then line that up with where our customers really want to go. And fortunately, again, everything that I've been engaged with right now tells me we're on the right track, and I see it in terms of our performance. Thank you. Let's move on to Boeing. You've been described as Boeing's critic in chief. Is that a title that you identify with?
No, not at all. I think I identify with being one of Boeing's largest customers. Okay?
You can be a critic and a customer.
I think I identify with being one of Boeing's largest customers. I think I identify with really making a commitment to Boeing in a really difficult point in time. Don't forget, American was the largest airline to place an order for the MAX 10s in recent history. And we did that at a time when there was a lot of uncertainty. So I've had a great relationship with Boeing over the years. Again, been in the industry a long time. And American, depends on Boeing, being able to right their ship and get on track with delivering quality products on time. And so it's great that we've got that Boeing has a contract in place with the IAM. I hope that gets back to producing and certifying and doing all the things ultimately to support. Now, while I say that we've got this great fleet, and I think that American operates the Boeing aircraft better than anyone, and as I said, we've got the resources to be able to do it. But at the same time, in terms of new deliveries, American really isn't that dependent over the next couple of years. The MAX 10s really weren't supposed to start coming in until 2027. We've got a great relationship with Airbus. We're the operator, I believe, of the world's largest fleet of 320 family aircraft. And we have a nice order of aircraft on that side, including the new XLRs, which is going to be really beneficial to American.
We'll get onto some of the fleet specifics in just a moment, but you said last month you look forward to the day when Boeing is, quote, not just a distraction.
Yeah.
How much longer do you think you're going to be waiting?
Oh, I don't know.
Even in your heart, you don't know?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
So, look, all I can tell you is that I'm hopeful. I've talked to Kelly Ortberg on a number of occasions. I think he's doing a fine job making the right moves. But in terms of results, that's what counts. Absolutely. Ultimately, delivering aircraft. And the only thing I pass on is get that right first. Okay, just produce a quality product first, then get to ramping up production rates and things like that. And I know that they're listening. So I'm hopeful. Again, in terms of getting new certified MAX 10s. That's a ways out. We have 787-9 deliveries that feature our new flagship suite, which is great. But we have those deliveries, and I know that production line is running, and hopefully we'll see some of those deliveries next year.
Sounds good. As promised, let's run through some of the fleet elements. You've got more than 400 aircraft on order. At the Aviation Forum last year, you predicted that you'd be one of the first 2 or 3 customers in the world to receive the Airbus A321 XLR. Iberia's already started flying theirs. It's going into Boston later this week for the first time. When do you think you'll see your first XLRs?
So hopefully we'll see ours next year, and they'll likely fly domestic routings for a bit, and then we'll expand it out to really the full breadth of what that aircraft can provide. And for us, the XLR is going to be unique. It's something that will work really well on our East Coast hubs. And so, whether it's JFK or Charlotte or Philadelphia, those are aircraft that certainly can do transcon missions for us. Configuration is going to be a lie flat, flagship suite product with a first class and then a premium economy and a coach. We'll figure out how all that works in terms of mix. But ultimately, that is an aircraft that will also help us do more flying into Europe. And so from smaller hubs, secondary cities, whether it's South America or Europe, it's going to be a really nice product that we get a lot of utilization out of. So I think American is uniquely positioned in the U.S. To be able to really benefit from that. We were one of the first customers. I know that the aircraft is designed, certainly to meet our expectations, and it'll be great to get that back in. It's a component of our fleet right now that is missing, and can't wait to get it.
Quick reminder about the opportunity for any questions. Jump on the Skift app. We'll take as many as we can towards the end of the session. You mentioned the MAX 10s there, Robert. That's had a fair share of regulatory hold-ups. Ryanair last week, they were fairly bullish on their delivery schedules. They're still expecting their first MAX 10s in the first half of 2027. Do you share Mike O'Leary's optimism about the timeline?
Well, again, it has to be certified first, so I won't get out over my skis on that front. But I can tell you that aircraft is going to be terrific for American. The MAX 8 works really well for us right now, and when you think about an American with 1,600 aircraft and hubs in so many different places in the United States, having the flexibility, right, with pilots and crews and from a maintenance perspective, having the ability to have one size and another to meet different demand, I think that from an efficiency perspective, it's going to be really beneficial. And then also, I know that it's a product that our customers have really liked as well.
Turning attention briefly to the wide-body fleet, you've got dozens of 777s. They're getting on a little bit into the sort of 20 to 25-year age range for some of the earliest models. What's going to replace those?
So right now, you're right. As we take a look at the wide-body fleet, we have a mix of 777s, 200s and 300s, and 787s, the 9s and the 8s.
Sure.
So on that front, right now, there's a lot of benefit to us in having a simplified fleet in terms of crewing and in terms of operational reliability. So I feel really good about that. 777-200s, it's something that we're talking about right now. Is that an aircraft that you go ahead and invest in and remod the interiors, and upgrade those, or is it something that you take a look at, for potential replacement in the future? That kind of work is going on, but the potential replacements in the future are going to be, really what we operate or what Airbus offers. So it's either going to be the 787-8s or 9s, or right now I think we're in really good shape on the 777-300 fleet, and of course we're talking to Airbus as we need to. So, but from that perspective, I like what we have. We have a good stream of 787-9s coming in over the next several years, and that is going to allow us to really expand in ways and serve markets in a way that customers want. And I know we were going to talk about this, but
sure.
Customers want premium seating. And at American, our fleet plan is going to enable us to grow the premium seats that we're able to sell over the next few years by 20%. So I think we're going to be one of the carriers that grow the largest in terms of that premium seating capability.
It's fair to say that premium seating is not just a post-pandemic fad. With the 20% increase by 2026, you're putting your money where your mouth is. This is here to stay. Is that's your opinion?
Well, it's not just, it is. Not only are we doing that with the new aircraft orders, so the 787-9s will have a richer mix of, oh yeah, there we go. How about that? I can't wait to take a flight. Not only the 787-9s you have the flagship suites, but we're also in the XLRs, the 321 XLRs as well. But we're going to be refurbishing our 777-300s. And they will also be receiving, the new flagship suites. Sure. And on top of that, time is now for the A320 fleet and the A319 fleet. Both of those will be going through reconfigurations as well, and that will enable us to add a few more seats as well. And don't forget about our regional product as well, because it is something it's a big deal to American Airlines. Nobody operates more Embraer aircraft than we do. Right now, I think we're certainly the largest customer for the 175s. It's a unique aircraft for us, and it's something that works incredibly well. Customer satisfaction with that aircraft is through the roof, and we're going to be putting satellite Wi-Fi on those in the very near future. So it all bodes well for those that want to travel from a premium perspective.
Lots of industry chatter this week, Robert, I'm sure you've heard it yourself, following the election result about sustainability and maybe that slipping down the priority list with the new Trump administration. Do you anticipate any revisions to your published environmental commitments in light of the changes in Washington? No,
I just say this, that conservation, is really important. For American Airlines, 20% of our operating expenses is fuel. So we have the youngest fleet among the network carriers. Why do we do that? It's partly because it's what our customers want and kind of timing in terms of modernization, but it's also because new generation aircraft, every time you bring on a new aircraft, those engines and airframe combination are going to be about 15% more efficient from a unit cost perspective in terms of fuel burn. So that's really important. You see us pushing to modernize air traffic control. We can't constantly be in a situation where it takes longer to fly to places than it did 20 years ago. So I know that investment from that perspective is beneficial.
Sure.
Because it means that you're not running your engines. And so whether that's in the air, and really tighter routings to different places, or on the ground And from that perspective, we're investing in technology to make sure that we aren't spending time running engines on the tarmac.
And that's a win-win, the bottom line, and it's more environmentally stable.
And then, the last piece is more is good in terms of different supply. So let's face it, SAF, okay, if we could produce it at scale, that's something, again, that complements, fossil fuels. And we're fortunate to have engines and infrastructure that can actually make good use of that feedstock in a way that isn't, incredibly costly. So I don't see, our views, changing. We need to modernize. We need to take advantage of new technologies. We have to get ready for the inevitable, time at which fossil fuels become incredibly limited. Yep. And, American's not going to be last. Now, I'll say this, that as an industry, though, okay, and if we all look to 2050 net zero, we've got a lot of work to do, and it's going to take investment from a government perspective, it's from an industry perspective, and all those that touch the airline industry. And so we've all got a part to do it. The airlines can't do it on their own.
Lots of questions coming in. Thank you for those. There's one question that was already on my flashcard, which is aligned nicely with what we've got coming in. That's with regard to your network. Right. So we saw just a couple of weeks ago, DFW to Brisbane non-stop, the longest flight of the American network. Yeah. You know that, I know that. There's a question here. Has the airline considered expanding the network to more exotic Asian destinations similar to United Airlines, the likes of Bangkok or Hanoi?
Well, right now, and certainly I wouldn't release any of that in this forum.
You're more than welcome to break news.
But I'll say this about American's network. It's important that American can serve our customers now and in the future wherever they want to go, okay, in a reliable fashion, and we're easy to do business with, taking care of those customers that really, want to travel the most. And part of that is having a network that serves the globe. I feel like from an organic perspective, we're uniquely positioned in that, our hubs are part of, the fastest growing regions of the United States, and at the same time we have strong presences in parts of the country that have been historically where a lot of demand has been produced.
Sure.
We complement what we do out of those hubs with our OneWorld alliance partners and other relationships that we set up. And from that perspective, I feel great about our presence in our work with the IAG carriers, especially London Heathrow and Madrid. And when we head out west and into Asia, we're really well positioned with JAL. And then heading down, we have a joint business with Qantas, which is, I think, second to none. They're an incredible partner. And
so
doing
it
really
doesn't always have to be on
things.
American metal. Is that your point?
It doesn't have to be on American metal, but we have to be able to work with those partners to get people where they want to go. And with the OneWorld Alliance, which I'm fortunate to be chair of right now, I know that the OneWorld carriers are all really interested in making sure that we are doing the things that are necessary. So you talked about exotic locations. We just had in OneWorld carrier, Fiji Airways, new carrier. That's pretty exotic to me. And
they're coming into DFW.
And they're coming into DFW as well. So it's a good time to be part of OneWorld, and then with the kind of flights that we're picking up, it's going to be really interesting. And I'll just add one more thing, just from an XLR perspective.
Sure.
It does enable us to fly to more secondary cities. Now, when we talk, farther out in Asia, it's something that we just have to be, we have to make sure that we're metered and paced at a point where demand, warrants the service.
With all those exciting new flights, how are you going to pay for them? With an American Airlines credit card? Perhaps there's a neat segue if ever I heard one.
Well, can I say this before you go there? Because I know you're going to talk about loyalty and co-brand cards. That's really interesting. But in terms of paying for them,
sure.
I feel really good about American's capital plan going forward. Okay, it's one of the things that in the past, from a financial perspective, people said, hey, American bought 600 jets over the course of 8 or 9 years and spent billions and billions of dollars and quite frankly took on a lot of debt. The good news is that our fleet plan needs, even to provide growth that keeps pace or even is larger than GDP, which look, we're being very, very conscious of supply and demand of the business right now. But American's capital needs for aircraft are very limited. And so we're in great shape in terms of paying down debt and hitting the targets that we've set. And while other carriers are going to be taking on a lot of debt to pay for their big fleet renewals, American's going to be in a position where we're going to reap the benefits of free cash flow production because we're not out there, spending a lot of money on capital. But in terms of co-brand cards, I can't put jets on the card.
Wow, depends what your credit limit is.
Okay, right.
But you are the only airline, the only big US airline, as you know, that has a dual brand strategy, a bit of a hangover from the US Airways merger. This is going to be the first contract renegotiation since 2016. In your own words, Robert, what does success look like in this negotiation for you?
I think, look, American has been an industry leader all along, and so I wouldn't characterize the relationship that we had with dual issuers as a hangover. Quite differently, I view what we did at the time of the merger, unique and very conscious of taking care of our customers and beneficial from a financial perspective at American at a time that we really needed it. And the same holds true now. I think that from a loyalty perspective and how we're able to generate value and ultimately loyalty is and points is a form of distribution. There's a different way that we have to take a look at things right now. We've talked on our earnings call about being in the very late stages now of renegotiation of a contract. I think it's going to provide tremendous benefit to American as we make sure that we are able to deliver everything our customers want from a co-brand card relationship and the loyalty program that allows them to take advantage of it.
You were sort of winding back from my description of it as a hangover there. Is that an indication that you're more open-minded to continuing that dual branded approach?
We're in the later stages of a negotiation right now, and I really look forward to being able to talk about that when we're done.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Some questions that I'm keen to get to. One that's true to my heart in terms of airline catering. Domestically, American has less main cabin food options for passengers than other airlines. Are there any plans to update the main cabin buy on board offering as we enter 2025?
Well, I'm not going to accept the statement or the question, but we constantly look at food offerings and anything within the cabin to make sure we're competitive, and then also conscious of what's right for the network and the customers that we fly. So I'm really proud of what we do from a first-class domestic product, and I know that we're incredibly competitive internationally in all cabins. So from us, you'll see a real attention to making sure that we're serving customers in the way they want to be served.
Appreciate that. Question here with regard to the Northeast Alliance. The Northeast Alliance appeal was denied, and it appears the NEA initiative is dead. What is the plan to serve the highest GDP O&D market in the country, that's New York City?
Well, look, we've been, we put in place what I thought was a really novel and interesting way to serve customers, and I thought it was very, very successful. We continue to monitor any court decisions, but that doesn't stop us from going out and taking a look at the marketplace. So from a New York perspective, you'll see our biggest schedules in the New York City market that we've had certainly since the pandemic. And we'll constantly be on the lookout for ways to improve our position. But don't forget, we've got a really nice position in JFK. LaGuardia, we're second largest carrier. And from a JFK perspective, we serve the biggest financial markets across the sea. With our relationship with BA and London Heathrow, nobody has a position like that. So I feel really good about what anchors us. And then, to the extent that we need to find ways to augment that, we will. And we've been very creative in the past.
Can I ask you one more question if you promise to give a quick answer?
No.
Any plans to improve your in-flight Wi-Fi?
Well, I'll tell you this. American was the first carrier to have satellite Wi-Fi installed on all their mainline fleet. We're going to be the first to have it on everything but our 50-seaters from a regional perspective. Nobody else has that. And there's a constant effort to make sure that we improve. But, look, I'm a very frequent traveler. I know that there are spotty outages. But for the most part, on American, it's not something for the future. We have it. and we have it more broadly than anyone else. And we're going to make sure it's competitive in terms of not only the service and the capability, but also in terms of the offerings that customers want and how they want to consume it.
Robert, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks.